Hey everyone, good evening, and welcome to your final workshop for your college planning. So back in the winter months, you came for your first one as juniors and to begin the process, and now you are in the final home stretch. You know that your children, many of them did the college boot camp back in August, and knowing the fact of being able to get some of those huge benchmarks done of their essay and the Common App as well. It's a program that we're really proud of, and for those families that were able to engage in that, it was really, we had a wonderful, I think we had about 90 seniors that were a part of that this summer. This is a really informative night for you, so I know that the guidance department has done a really wonderful job of putting together literature for you that really is one-stop shopping. So those workbooks that Steve's going to take you through tonight really will allow for you to walk out of here and share with your senior, or for the seniors that are here with your families, to be able to kind of use that document as your go-to guide for all the things you need to do for your deadlines. I know many of your students have already started asking for teacher recommendations, and we know that from the advice from guidance is to do it early. So I think I had 3 even before we left for the summer. I'm like, I'll get them done, I swear, I promise you I'll get it done. And I had an email from one of them on July 3rd, and that was, I said, it's 4th of July weekend, you should be with your family and enjoying and not worrying about your college recommendation at that particular juncture. But I promised her I would have it done for her, so I did get it done. So we just need to upload it into Naviance for her. But I just want to just say welcome tonight, and this is an opportunity for you to ask questions, and really throughout the entire process that we really partner with you from here until the day you get your acceptance letters and you decide where you're going. And we encourage you is tonight, if you have a chance, if you go out, take a right out of here, you'll see the big map of the United States, and that's our future strong wall. And then all of the stickers that are on it are all of our acceptances where our students could go. And so every year we add on all of the acceptances of new schools that our students are getting accepted to. So when we are excited to do that with the class of 20 as well. So welcome tonight. I want to introduce to you the guidance counselor who really puts all of this together in terms of this whole college workshop series, and I think it's really comprehensive and well done. Steve Goldman.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out. As Mr. Brannigan said, this is, sorry about that, this is part 3 of a 3-part workshop series that we do. Part 1 was in February, where to begin. Part 2 was in April, what you should be doing over the summer, and here we are now with the nuts and bolts of applying. So how many people may have missed part 1 or part 2? Okay, that's okay. If you go to the guidance website and you click on the junior information link, because we did those workshops when your children were juniors, you will see a copy of workbook 1, workbook 2, and a video of those 2 nights that we did. So that will bring you right up to speed. As you notice in the inside cover of this book that you have, and hopefully everybody, when you came in, you should have grabbed the workbook, which is the tan cover, and an evaluation sheet. So those timelines are not cast in stone. They're a guideline to kind of get through the process. Every student is going to go through this in a different pace, depending on the type of school you're looking for, the competitiveness of the pool, what kind of student you are. Some people have application deadlines on October 15th. Some may not have application deadlines until February 15th. But if nothing has been done to this point, there is a little bit of catching up that needs to be done in order to get us up to speed. Just out of curiosity, how many people here sent their student to the boot camp this summer? Okay, so most of those students that went to boot camp are probably about 95% complete with the process. Does that make you feel better? Okay. We are starting our individual meetings with the seniors to focus on their specific plans. I did one today, so I've got about 60 more to go. But we're going to start calling them down. It's going to be, it's going to start happening a lot faster now that we got through the opening of school, and now we can focus on the seniors. If you have a son or daughter that is applying and has a November 1st or November 15th deadline, please encourage them to contact their guidance counselor right away so we get them in first. We just kind of go down our roster alphabetically, and if you're towards the end of the alphabet and you have an early deadline, we want to make sure we're getting you in and we're helping you process all this stuff in a timely way. So that's just some of the little details. So let's get into the workbook, and I will take any questions that you folks have. I am here. My wife doesn't like that, but I am here to answer your questions. So here's your timeline. And you can see some of the things that are in their SAT deadlines and test dates. At this point, every senior should have taken the SAT at least one time. If they have not, we would strongly encourage them to take, let's see what it says here. I don't know if it might be too late for October. You might make the late registration deadline, but there's a $29 fee that goes along with that. If not, they should take the November and the December SAT. We're a test center in November. In December, they'd have to find the closest test center to Middleborough. You do not need to take the SAT at our school. You can take it anywhere. You register online at collegeboard.org, and they will tell you, you just pick the school you want to go to, and you'll show up on their roster. It's important to make sure we get 2 sets of SATs under our belt, so we have some scores to compare and contrast. If your son or daughter has taken the SATs twice already, and the scores are comparable, and they're still really not happy with the scores, I wouldn't recommend taking them a third time without any major preparation work. College Board's own statistics show that only about a third of the people will show a marked improvement moving forward without spending a lot of time prepping for them. We would recommend switching to an ACT, and we'll talk about ACT in a little bit. You'll see college application deadlines in there. October, the FAFSA is available on October 1st, and we'll talk a little about that in a little while. So looking ahead, and again, in each workbook, a word from guidance that just explains what we're responsible for, what the students are responsible for, and how we make this all happening. All the information gets to the colleges. And then we have a review of what was covered in Workbook 1, what was covered in Workbook 2, and there's very little repetitive information in these workbooks. It really, 2 picks up where 1 left off, and 3 picks up where 2 left off. And then this is basically the timeline, the flow chart of how this whole process works. There's 3 pieces to this. There's the teacher recommendations, there's the application, and then there's the test scores. So let's talk about teacher recommendations first. So the first thing the students need to do is they need to ask a teacher for a recommendation. Hopefully they've already done that. We asked them to do that before they left for vacation, for summer vacation. It's usually a junior teacher, so they're the ones that get inundated with requests. Why a junior teacher? They've seen the student most recently for the longest length of time. You want to avoid asking a teacher you had as a freshman, who you haven't had again. That's a long time ago, and colleges are more interested in what's happened more recently. If you had a teacher as a freshman and you have them now as a senior, certainly that would be a good one. The teacher can talk about the progress they've seen in you as a student and how much you've matured and grown. So you ask the teacher to just say, would you be willing to write a letter of recommendation? They say, yes, great. Then they need to go to Naviance, into their Naviance account, and they need to complete the teacher letter of recommendation information sheet. And that is located right on their homepage. When they log on to Naviance and they scroll down to the bottom, there's a link that's called Document Resources. And and all this information is in the previous workbooks also. So, with step-by-step instructions on what to click on and how to get there. So when you click on Document Resources, you're going to see the activities sheet, the guidance counselor letter of recommendation sheet, and the teacher letter of recommendation sheet. So they need to fill out each of those forms. They need to please make sure they do not save them as Google documents, because it changes the formatting and messes up the whole document. They need to save it as a Word document. If they don't have Word, they can use the computers in the library here to do it, and then they can email the document to their guide. The activity sheet and the letter of rec info sheet for guidance counselor both go to the guidance counselor, and the teacher one goes to the teacher. If they've asked two teachers to write a letter of recommendation, and in most cases you only need one, but they need to read their applications carefully, they need to fill out an individual teacher form for each teacher because the questions are specific to the experience they had in that class. So you don't want to fill one out for your English teacher and give it to your biology teacher also. So they can also save their letter, any of their Word documents, they can save in Naviance in the journal. Or they can save it on a flash drive. I like to have everything saved in Naviance because it's one, as Mr. Brittinger said, it's one-stop shopping. Everything is right there. Anything college-related will be right there. You don't have to worry about where you saved it. Is it on this computer? Is it on this flash drive? It's all right there. They still do need to email it to the guidance counselor and the teacher, though, so they're assured that we get it. The student then needs to go into Naviance, and they have to make the official request from the teacher. That's how the teacher will know that they have access to their Naviance account and they can upload their letter. If they don't do that, the teacher will never be notified. So when they do that, and there's instructions in the workbook to do that we will review in a little bit. We talked about emailing a copy. Teacher writes a letter, uploads it into Naviance. Any questions related to letters of recommendation? Has it been uploaded? Has it been sent? I got an email from the college saying they haven't received it yet. All those questions regarding the teacher letter of recommendation need to be addressed to the teacher. Please don't come to the guidance office first. We don't know. That's a separate piece from what we do. We can tell you what we sent out, transcript, our letter, school profile, all the other forms that are involved. We don't know where the teacher is at, so always check with the teacher first. Please be careful and don't accuse them of not sending it. Just ask them where they're at in the process. If you got an email, which is very common, saying that something is missing, just tell them you got an email. You were wondering if they had a chance to send it out yet. If there's still ongoing issues, you can come to guidance and ask us, and we can see if we can help troubleshoot that process with that issue with the teacher. And then you can see it goes directly to the college. Let's talk about the test scores. So the standardized test scores, you ask the appropriate test center, and you request that your scores be sent to the colleges that you're applying to. So there's two different types of tests. There's the SATs, three types. There's the SAT subject tests. The SAT reasoning test. That's the SAT we're all familiar with. There's the SAT subject test, which are specific subjects, and then there's the ACTs. The ACTs are not as well known in this part of the country. Let's talk about SATs first. SAT reasoning test is what most of the colleges want. That's the critical reading and the math. The ACTs are a different test that for years were marketed Midwest and west of the Mississippi. They're located, it's American College Testing, they're located in Iowa, so they just kind of marketed their test out that way, and College Board is in New Jersey, and they marketed their test in the East Coast and in California. Now, 99% of the colleges will accept either one of those tests. In this area, the SATs are still predominantly the ones that our students use. As I said before, if a student has taken the SATs twice and they really haven't shown any marked improvement, they may want to try an ACT. The scores are on different scales, but they're usually you score comparable. Every now and then, though, a student will do better on an ACT because they are more subject-based. You have a English, math, reading, and science score from that, then a composite score for an ACT. So every now and then a student may do better on that, and it's another option that their guidance counselor can talk with about them or which ones to send, SAT or ACT. The SAT subject tests are specific subjects. There's about 75 colleges in the United States that require them. There's about another 75 that recommend them. If the colleges you're applying to do not require or recommend them, I wouldn't bother taking them. It's a separate test day. You can't take them the same day as the SAT reasoning tests. And of course, they're going to charge you several different fees, an entry fee, and then they're going to charge you per test that you take. And more testing is not better. If the college says that we want one or two subject tests, and they want a specific one, so for example, some nursing programs want biology, then you have to take it. If they say we recommend it or they don't ask for it at all, then I wouldn't bother the time or the money in that process. So if you have any questions about that, you can contact us in the guidance office and we can talk with you about that. And the other nice thing, too, is sometimes colleges, in lieu of subject tests, will take the ACTs because they're more subject-based. So for legal purposes, the guidance department cannot access official SAT or ACT scores and send them to the colleges. So that is on the student, and that is the thing that gets skipped probably most frequently in this process, is when something's missing, it's usually the SAT score the student forgot to get onto their College Board account and tell them to send those scores to whatever schools they're applying to. That is a personal contract between the student and College Board, and they don't care who we are and what our roles and our jobs are. We have no legal right to look at those, to access those scores and send them on their behalf. So just make sure that that is on the checklist. We remind the students of that, but it never fails every year. We have students that that's the one thing the colleges are missing. So we don't want that to hold up their applications. And then what makes them official is they go directly from that test center to the college. And then the last piece is the college application. So for those people there's probably about 800 colleges now that subscribe to the Common Application. So there's a good chance that there's a couple that your child is going to be using, is going to be applying to, so just use the Common App instead of their own app. It's one application, it's one essay, it saves time. If the college didn't like it, they wouldn't put their name on it, you'd have to use their own. Some colleges have their own and the Common App. But if they're on the Common App, take advantage of that. They want you to use it. So it's commonapp.org is the site. Please make sure that your student is using their email and they're using their phone numbers and their contact information. That's how they're going to be identified in the college. In the colleges, they will ask in the application for parent information, contact information, but it's important that, especially with SATs, please don't sign your children up for SATs under your name, because then what ends up happening is they won't have it when they go to take the test. There might be confusion with whose name is on the roster. Was it your name or the parent name? And there definitely would be confusion when the scores are sent to the colleges. So it has to always be in the applicant's name. So once you download that application, there's two pieces. It's the application itself, and then there's the essay piece. So the application, you go through and complete. We look over the application if the student would like for us to do that. I try to do that with every one of my students that uses the Common App, as long as they're willing to share that information with me. I'll look it over. I'll help them correct things and make sure everything looks the way it needs to look. But we ask you guys to proofread their applications also. I'm not going to catch a wrong phone number or address or misspelling of a sibling or something like that. So it's important that you guys you check the home information on there. And then you go through the making corrections and proofreading and making corrections. You keep going through that process until you get a nice clean document. The essay is probably the hardest part of the process, and it's the thing that students tend to wait to the end to do. The application isn't hard. It might be long, but it's not hard. Name, address, telephone number. The most challenging question is probably going to be, what's their social security number? But the essay is something that it's not just a writing sample. It's an opportunity for them to kind of express who they are through their writing. So the colleges get a sense of what kind of person they are also. So you don't want to just kind of wait to the end and just kind of whip something out and say it's good enough. You really want to make sure you're taking the time, that you're writing it. You're asking an English teacher if they'd be willing to proofread it. You're making corrections. You're adding pieces in, taking pieces out. You're asking it to be proofread again. Keep going through that process so you have a nice clean document. My suggestion is, if you haven't started that, start making notes. Read the essay prompts. Pick the essay you'd like to write about and start making notes to yourself. It's usually an experience you had where you learned something about yourself, an obstacle or a challenge you've overcome, a person you admire. And if you're going to write about a person you admire, always make sure you bring it back to yourself. Why do you admire that person? I have a friend of mine who was an admissions counselor at Boston College, and he used to speak at these events that we hold, and he used to tell the audience that every year he goes, we read more wonderful stories about people's grandparents, their grandfathers and grandmothers, and we gladly accept them to the college. The student never brought it back to them, and as a result of their experience with grandma, these are my goals, my beliefs, my values, you know, the kind of person I am. So they always need to bring it back to themselves if they're writing about somebody else. Once the essay is perfect, it gets uploaded into the application. The student needs to pay the online application fee with a credit card. If the student is eligible for a waiver, an application fee waiver, usually it's somebody that's on free or reduced lunch, or the family might be reserving services from the state for one reason or another, they should check with their guidance counselor right away so we can verify that and make sure that they do have that, and we can get the paperwork rolling on that. And that is highly, highly confidential. The only person that has access to the free and reduced lunch list in this building is the Director of Food Service and Mr. Brannigan. So we have the student fill out a form, Mr. Brannigan confirms it, we give them the waiver. Okay, so that it takes a little bit of time to do that. And then when they're ready, they submit their application and their essay, and their fee to the college. Once they click submit, so let's say they have 3 applications on the Common App, and they want to get their first one out tomorrow, and they submit it, and then they want to send the next one out next week, but they want to make changes to their application first. You can't make changes once you send it the first time. Okay? This is very, very important. Common App does not have a phone number. It is virtually impossible to get in touch with them. So please make sure when you click the first time, even though you might be sending one out, not all of them, that is your final product. So the student, after they, well, I shouldn't say after, this should be concurrently, they should be going into Naviance and they should request a transcript. So if the student now knows what schools they're applying to right now, they can go into Naviance and they can request a transcript from the guidance department. They don't have to be done with everything we just talked about. They can be working on the stuff while we're working on their stuff. And then they can just add schools as they go along. So they go to Naviance, they request their transcript. We run reports as counselors. We can run reports as frequently as we want. I usually run them roughly twice a week to see if there's any updates, and then I prioritize my seniors by deadline. So if somebody has a deadline on October 15th, I'm going to do that before one that has a December 1st deadline. But that's how we do it, because you can imagine we each have about 70 seniors, plus we have underclassmen with a lot of stuff that we deal with too. And, you know, kids being kids, they tend to wait till the last minute to hand stuff in, and we don't want to do a lousy job of writing a letter of recommendation. We want to take some time to put some thought into it. So the more time they give us, the more time and thought we can put into their letter of recommendation. And the more time they put into their forms that they fill out for their teachers and us, the more information we can add to their letter. We don't know everything about these kids. And some kids we know better than others. Some kids fly high above the radar. They do great work here. They don't need to come to guidance for much, so we don't know as much about them other than they do really well in school. So it's nice to be able to write, as a guidance counselor, a well-rounded letter of recommendation that includes things that we might not be aware of. Their outside activities that they're involved in that might be important or significant to them, and who they are as people. So we always tell them, you get out of it what you put into it. If you give us one-liners, you'll probably get one-liners back in your letter of recommendation. Not that we want to do that, but if you give us the general rule of thumb, because they don't want us to write a novel either. They don't want more than a one-page letter from the teachers or the guidance counselors. So the general rule of thumb is, one of the questions on the sheet is, what's your proudest accomplishment? Academic or personal? And we always get a bunch that say, my proudest accomplishment was getting a B in algebra, something like that, period. They go on to the next question. So that doesn't tell us or the admissions counselor anything that we can't already see in a transcript. What's the important question to ask? Why? Why was that your proudest accomplishment? Maybe math is not your strong suit, but you have to take 4 years of math to go to college, and algebra is one of them. So what did you do? I went for extra help. I had a tutor. I was in a study group. I did extra credit questions. That's the stuff they're interested in hearing about, the anecdotal stuff. The general rule of thumb is more than 2 or 3 lines, nothing more than a short paragraph. State what it is, give 2 or 3 examples of why it was meaningful or significant, and then move on to the next section, and then that'll be enough information for all of us. All right. So they complete their form, their activity sheet, and their guidance letter of rec form. They email them to their guidance counselor. And then the guidance counselor needs to process all that and fill out a whole bunch of other papers also. So we do require 15 school days prior to the college deadline to be able to assure that we are going to have time to write a well-thought-out letter, double-check all the things that we're checking off in these boxes, and make sure that we're not making any mistakes, and doing extra proofreads and all that stuff to make sure we're getting things out in a timely way for them. So if you go to page 13 of the workbook, you will see the standard application deadlines. They're usually the 1st and the 15th of the months. And you have to count back 15 school days. That gets a little sketchy around Christmas and Thanksgiving. So when we have vacation in December, it's more like a month. So it's school days. It's not 3 weeks. As we tell the kids, do they want to do this over their vacation? And neither do we. Probably will, but we don't like it. So the guidance council, this is all the stuff that we have to process. We're going to process the high school transcript, the secondary school report form, first quarter grades, mid-year grades, the school profile, the council report, and the council recommendation. We've got to go through all that stuff. We've got to upload everything into Naviance. Then we finally get to click send, and everything gets received by the college. Yes? Okay. What's that? What is it? So the question is, what is the College Board account? Every student should have set up a College Board account when they were sophomores. We did it in their advisory classes after they took the PSATs. We gave them direction to set up a College Board account, and what they could do is they could link their PSAT scores to Khan Academy, which is a prep program. So if they're using Khan Academy, they have a College Board account. That's also how they, the College Board account is how they register to take the SATs, how they go to indicate where they want their SAT scores sent, okay? If they forgot how to access their College Board account, and they cannot set up a second one. So if they forget how to access the account they said, please don't have them set up a second one, because you're looking at making a lot of phone calls to College Board and having them try to clear that all up. So if they can't remember, they've tried to log in, we have the phone number to College Board and Guidance. You can either email us and we can send it to you, or they can stop down and we can give it to them. And if you just have to make the phone call, and they'll clear it up so they can access their account. Okay. Okay, so that is exhausting. But we're going to move along. So testing, so here's a little bit more about the testing. You do not need to indicate at the time of registration where you want the scores sent. If you want to get the scores back first and look at them, and if you've taken them a second time and you want to see, gee, did I do better the second time or the first time, which set do I want to send, you can wait depending on when your college deadline is. Okay, so if you take the November one and you're the first weekend in November, and you have a November 1st deadline, you might want them sent right away. So try to plan out when you want to take them so you can have time to review. You do have, it usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks from they get the scores, to make the scores publicly available on their website to the students. They can go into their accounts and see them. If you get 4 free reports, and as part of your registration. If you do not use those 4 free reports within, I think it's 9 days after the test, it says it in here someplace, then it'll be $12 per score report that you have sent out to the colleges, and they'll just charge the credit card that is on the account. So here's the contact information for ACT and the test registration test dates and deadlines. So yeah, the late registration deadline was, yes, for SATs, for the October was yesterday. And then the subject tests information. So the forms we were talking about, this is the teacher letter of rec info sheet. It's blue. It's blurry. Oh, that's better. So it just asks questions about their experience in the class. Those boxes will expand if they need more space. And again, these are the instructions about how to send it off to the teacher. This is the guidance one. It's a little bit longer because the teacher is writing about the academic experience. The guidance counselor is writing about the all-round student. So ours is a little bit longer. The guidance counselor one is 3 pages without the student typing on it. It really shouldn't be more than 4 pages by the time they're done typing. So again, it does not have to be the great American novel, but just enough information to kind of give a snapshot of who they are, what they're like. And the activity sheet. Please do not give the activity sheet to the teacher, even if they ask for it. The teacher is writing the academic recommendation. It says that specifically on the application. They should not be giving the colleges a laundry list of you being a member of the art club and playing soccer and having a part-time job at Dunkin' Donuts. If your art teacher is also your soccer coach, then that's fine, that's appropriate. Okay, but they are writing the academic letter of recommendation. The guidance counselor is writing the official school recommendation, which is the all-round, what they're like in school and out of school. For those of you who may have asked Mr. Brannigan or Mr. Dizell or Mrs. Jameson for a recommendation, those are great backup recommendations if your school will take more than one, but they are not teachers. So they should not be your primary letter of recommendation because they can't speak to their experience with you in the classroom. So they're really good recommendations, but make sure you have a teacher that would be appropriate to write that letter for you. Now, the students always shortchange themselves on their experiences and what to put on these forms, on the activity sheet and the guidance form. So what we did this year was we actually made a nice little cheat sheet for them with in-school activities, all of our in-school activities, and then we suggested some out-of-school activities. Every time I ask a student, do you work? No. Do you babysit? Well, yeah, I babysit. Just babysitting. And it's a job with a high level of responsibility, so of course they should be putting that down. The colleges are primarily looking for what they've done over the course of the past 4 years, 9 through 12. They're really not interested in that they did the Walk for Hunger once in 7th grade and they never did it again. Or they were on the yearbook club in 6th grade. They're really looking what's going on 9 through 12. Now, if we have anybody out there who has been doing dance since they were very young, or horseback riding, or piano lessons, or anything of that sort, and they've kept it up over the years, certainly that shows a long-term commitment, and they do want to include that. But those one and dones from elementary and middle school, they're not interested in that. The application, how to apply to college. And again, this is more for the students to read the applications carefully. If they're using paper applications, there's still a few out there. Don't stick it in a book bag. Spill coffee, have ripped, curled up corners on it. In most cases, that's the only impression the college is going to have of you. If you want to have one as a working document, make a photocopy, put the original in a safe place at home or in a folder someplace, and then you can work on the working one and spill all the coffee on it that you want. And then send a nice clean copy off to the colleges. Again, most of them you can word process and you can send electronically. I like electronic because you get a receipt saying it was submitted. So if they ever say we never got it, you sent me a receipt saying you got it. Okay. But some cases like Massasoit, Bristol Community College, and there's a few others out there still that are still haven't quite caught up to the electronic age, and so you're gonna have to mail those. So just treat them with care. That's all. So we recommend 4 to 6 schools. If the student has done their homework, their research, they should be able to narrow it down to 4 to 6, roughly. It's an expensive proposition. Applications can run anywhere from $10 to $100. Their application fees. So it can get really expensive. The three categories are realistic, stretch, and the safety, school, or backup. So the realistic are the ones when you look at the numbers, you pretty much have what they're looking for. You know, it looks like you're right, you're right in that average range. The reach or the stretch school is one maybe that you have some of what they're asking for, maybe that the grades are there and the GPA, but the test scores are a little bit low or vice versa. Or maybe you're a very smart student, have done next to perfect work and have next to perfect test scores, and you're applying to an Ivy League school where everybody is next to perfect. And they can't take everybody, so sometimes it's luck of the draw at that point. And then the safety or backup is, without a doubt, no questions asked. When you're looking at that, what they want, you got it and then some. Please make sure when you have a safety or a backup school that it's one that you can live with, at least for the short term. Okay, don't put one on there because your guidance counselor said you should have one. And it's not necessarily because of the academics and that you didn't get in. Sometimes other things happen. Unfortunately, I had a student several years ago whose father passed away unexpectedly. She was an only child, and she was looking to go to school out west, and all the schools she applied to out west, the only school that was close was University of Connecticut. I was working in Central Mass at the time, so it wasn't that far. And she wanted to stay close to her mom. Her mom was having a really difficult time with this and managing, so she wanted to make sure that she was fairly close to home. So she ended up going to her safety school. UConn's not a bad safety school either, but sometimes there's other things that you're just not thinking about. Let's say you get into Boston University and they don't give you any financial aid, and you got to be prepared to write a check for $75,000 a year. So sometimes you don't have a choice in that regard. You got to make a sound financial decision. Now, don't let applying to a school, don't let the finances get in the way of applying to a school. If you have a school that you are truly interested in and you think it might be a good fit for you, don't let the price scare you from applying. Apply, go through the financial aid process and see what you end up with, because there are some cases where you could go to a $75,000 school for what it would cost to go to a state school here in Massachusetts for $20,000 a year. So you never know. So don't limit your choices at this stage. I mean, eventually you're going to have to make that financial choice. You're going to have to ask yourself, am I getting the best bang for my buck here? What is a $75,000 school going to give me that a $25,000 school won't give me? And sometimes it's just name recognition. Now, how much of a price do you want to put on name recognition? You know, if you're a smart person, you got a good education, and you can communicate that in an interview, maybe you don't need the name recognition from the school. Okay. College acceptance criteria. So the course selection and senior schedule is important. Senior year is not to wind down your high school years. Your schedule should be just as strong or stronger than it had been the previous 3 years. So you're looking at consistency or continuing to challenge yourself. So that's very important. Students should not be making any schedule changes at this point. They have to report the courses that they are taking this year on their applications. Once they click submit, that's part of the formula that the colleges use in making decisions when they look into the strength of the schedule. And if the student comes in second semester and says, oh, I really don't want to take this class, and we're on a semester system, so it's not that they had the class already, it's a brand new class, but they already reported it to the college, and the colleges will see when we send out mid-year grades that there is a change. They'll see it when final report cards are sent to the school they want to go to. They're going to see it as a change. And I did have a student several years ago who wanted to drop an elective course, had nothing to do with their major, and I had them call the college first to see the admissions office to see what they would say about that, and they said, we're going to have to take your application out of the pile and reconsider it all over again. So it's very competitive, okay? So double check those schedules before you start putting that information on the applications, and if there's anything in that second semester that you think is going to be a problem for you, you need to let us know immediately, okay? It really should have been done already, but we'll work with you and see what we can do, okay? We just want to make sure that there's no, we don't want to give them a reason to narrow you out, to eliminate you from the pool and narrow it down. So there's 5 different types of applications: early action, early decision, priority, regular decision, and rolling admission. So let's start with early action. Early action is a non-binding application. The early action and early decision application deadlines are usually November 1st, November 15th, December 1st, December 15th. There are schools that have moved to October 15th also. So early action, you can apply to as many schools as you like early action, and you just find out sooner, probably around Christmas time. You would find out if you got into the school. You do not need to make a decision until May 1st. You don't have to put a deposit down at that school. Early decision is a legally binding contract that the student, the parent, and the guidance counselor are all signing. You can only apply to one school early decision. If you apply to more than one, they will find out. It happened to a student of mine that applied to Bentley and Babson. She was recruited to play tennis at both those schools. I got a call from the tennis coach, who is a friend of mine, and he goes, "What's going on here?" I didn't even know she applied early to Bentley, and both schools rescinded their acceptances. So it's not a game to be played. Guidance counselors, we're not fans of early decision, because if you get accepted early decision, you have to immediately withdraw your applications, all your applications from every other school, and that's where you're going to college. You're not going to know about financial aid for months. And you're locking yourself in. Some schools don't have all of these different types of applications. Some only have early action, some only have early decision. They all have regular decision. But if you want to get it in early, but they don't have an early action and you don't want to make a commitment, then I would send it regular decision. Okay, regular decision application deadlines start January 1st and run the 1st to the 15th of the month through April. And then there's priority also. Priority is similar to early action, but there might be something specific to that individual college that they're asking for. A lot of people that go into nursing programs are priority because there's not a lot of seats in those programs. There's a high number of people that want to go into nursing. So a lot of times those are priority applications. And then there's rolling admissions, which is non-binding. You can apply anytime, right up till when school starts in September. There's good and there's bad. The good is that there's always a place to apply to, so if something happens or it doesn't work out the way you thought, there's always a place you can apply to. The downside is once they fill up, they fill up. So what they do with rolling is you send them in the application, they read it, they make an immediate decision. With those other deadlines, they wait until the deadline, process all of them together, and pick the best ones. Okay. So Northeastern was a rolling school several years ago, and all of a sudden, we had students that were applying in mid-January, which was perfectly appropriate for Northeastern, and they were getting rejected. And these were solid students for Northeastern. And we called and said, "What's going on?" Like, we filled up in December, everyone applied early. So you gotta, like I said, it's good and it's bad to the rolling piece. Okay, these are the deadlines that I had mentioned earlier. So it tells you when the type of application and the college deadline in the left-hand column, and when the student needs to get their stuff into guidance. Now, I already have had students that have submitted all of their stuff to me. They just wanted to get it out of the way. They did it over the summer. So if you have a November 1st deadline, the deadline to get everything at the latest to your guidance counselor is October 9th. You don't have to wait to hand it in or email it to us on October 9th. You can give it to us today, tomorrow, the next day. I would recommend getting it off your plate. It's just, those things just tend to kind of get in the way and add a lot of stress. And then we can be working on your stuff while you're working on your stuff, so it all gets there at the same time. And just, colleges are very unforgiving when it comes to deadlines. They have so many applicants, and you might be a great applicant, but they don't have enough room for everybody, so you just made the decision a little bit easier for them. I thought I had something else about deadlines. It'll come to me later. Any students that are on IEPs or 504s, there are some colleges that have special programs or support support for their traditional programs for students. So if you're looking for something that might help you with the adjustment to college, please stop down Guidance so we can help you in the planning for that. 2 schools in the area that stand out are Curry College and Westfield State. Both have excellent programs for students that are on IEPs or 504s. It's not a separate program from the college. You are integrated in the mainstream of the college, but you have a support person, much like you would have in high school. And they'll set you up with tutoring or anything to support you until you gain the skills you need to be a successful college student. So please stop by Guidance, and we can help you with that. Okay, so the next page is important information you're going to need to put on the applications. It's information about Middleborough High School, our code number, our address, our phone number, fax number, and the correct spelling of Mr. Brannigan's name, your guidance counselor's name. Our class rank is exact and weighted, and the class size is 187. I know it says TBA, I thought we changed that. We just finalized that last week. It is 187 students in the class. Our GPA scale is 4.0 and it is unweighted. And if your student has been here all 4 years, they started in September of 2016, and they will be graduating in June of 2020. June 6th, to be exact. The GPAs have all been updated and are in Naviance. We've had them, they've been loaded into Naviance, so the student can find their updated GPA in there. For those that went to boot camp, it might be the same, it might be slightly different, but that information is there. Okay, so the next piece is the steps for matching the common application to Naviance. In order for us to be able to send all the documents we need to for schools that are on the common app, the student needs to connect the two so they speak to each other. It's a one-time thing. They don't have to do it for every school, and these are the step-by-step instructions. For those students that went to boot camp, it's just done. They've already done it. Okay? For those who haven't gone to boot camp, the student needs to complete the application up through the school information, and then they follow these step-by-step instructions on Common App, and then they go over to Naviance, and they click on colleges, and they click on match accounts. They put in the email address that they used on the Common App, and it should link the two so they can speak to each other. So that red bar that you see right there will turn green. Okay, and this is where you would plug in the email address. And these were screenshots right off of both Common App and Naviance, so this is exactly the way it looks. So I had mentioned earlier, once the student gets the verbal commitment from the teacher, they have to make the official request for a teacher recommendation. And what they do is they go into Naviance, this is their homepage, they click on colleges, and they scroll down to apply to college, and then they click on letters of recommendation, and then they click on add request, and a drop box will show up with all of the teachers in there. They click on the teacher that they want. There's the drop box. And then number 2, select the colleges for this request. If your student is applying to, is only using one teacher, you can just click all current and future colleges I add to my colleges I'm applying to. If they are using more than one recommendation, not counting the guidance counselor, it's separate. They're using more than one, then they need to find out if the college will accept more than one. Some colleges only want one. If the college only says, no, we want one, then they have to indicate the this teacher. If let's say this is Mrs. Gleavy, for example, then they have to indicate that they want Mrs. Gleavy's recommendation sent to this college. They don't want Mr. Brannigan sent to this college. What will happen is if Mr. Brannigan puts his, if they don't indicate that and they click all current and future colleges, if Mr. Brannigan uploads his and submits his first, then Mrs. Gleavy's will be blocked. It won't go. Okay, so that's important. So it's only one recommendation, you don't have to worry about it. If it's, and if you look and the college says they'll take more than one, you don't have to worry about it. But if the college says that they want one, then you have to indicate which of those two teachers you want to send it to. The student should write a little note to the teacher. And this is a sample of what they can say. Dear Mrs. Glevy, thank you for agreeing to write my letter of recommendation. I will email you my teacher letter of info sheet ASAP. My earliest deadline is, please let me know if you have any questions or need any additional information. And just make sure that you're thanking them. The teachers do not have to do this. This is on their own time. And some teachers take it, most teachers take it very seriously. And they put a lot of time into it. So make sure you are thanking them for that. Requesting transcripts. This is how we as guidance counselors know that we need to do some work here, okay? So if a student does not request a transcript, they have to do it electronically through Naviance, then we will never know that they're applying to that specific college. So what they need to do, again, is they go into this is the home page, and they go into colleges I'm applying to. And request transcripts. That arrow should be down a little bit further, must have jumped on us. And then there's the step-by-step instructions. They need to also indicate what type of application is. Is it early action, early decision, priority, or regular? A lot of times the students skip that step, and it will default to the regular decision deadline. So if they have a November 1st early application, and they don't indicate that, what we'll see is that it's a February 1st deadline, or whatever the deadline is. So it's really important that they're making sure that they're indicating the right one. Now, they also, when they do that, after they indicate which one it is, they will see a screen, and under application deadline, it'll say what it is. If there's a blank there, that means that's whatever they selected, that school doesn't offer that. So if they selected early action, and then they see their screen with all the colleges listed there, and it says transcript requested, application deadline, and there's no date or any indication, that means they have to pick a different deadline. Financial aid. So financial aid is a very complex process, and it is constantly changing. We are not experts in financial aid by any stretch of the imagination, so we have an expert that will be coming in on October 23rd for a special financial aid night for you. And your students should be here also for that, because it's, they're a part of this process, and they need to know what they're getting themselves into. And they will go through the financial aid application step by step with you. What you can do is, as of October 1st, you can get onto the FAFSA website, and you can start your account. The student needs to get a PIN number. You need to get a PIN number. The FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Please remember that the first F in FAFSA stands for free. If they ask you at the end to give them a credit card number and pay some sort of processing fee, you're on the wrong website. Okay, that is a company that will gladly do this for you if you pay them. So it's fafsa.ed.gov. If you go to fafsa.com, they're going to ask you for money. Okay? There's another form called the CSS profile that some private schools use. Private schools have access to additional monies, endowments, and things of that sort that public schools don't. So some schools, like Stonehill, for example, also uses the CSS profile. This is a College Board form. Okay, so you can go to College Board to access this form. Of course, there's a fee because College Board charges you for everything. But what they'll do, what the colleges will do that take this will, after the FAFSA is completed and they find out what you're going to get, they'll see if there's additional monies they can help you with based on the family need. So so check and see what the schools are taking for financial aid forms. And here again, October 23rd, 6:30, here in the auditorium. I think it's in the auditorium. We will have the financial aid night. If we have anybody that is interested in playing Division I or Division II athletics, they need to register with the NCAA Eligibility Center. to make sure that they are not being inappropriately recruited by the colleges, and to make sure that they have satisfied the high school courses needed to be able to play at the Division I or Division II level. You do not need to do this for Division III schools. So if you go to that website and use the SAT and ACT code 9999, you can start this application. It will come back as a rejection, so don't panic when that happens. And that just reminded me what I wanted to tell you about the college application deadlines. I'll get back to that in a minute. It'll come back as a rejection. The reason it's a rejection because they haven't completed high school yet, so they haven't satisfied the senior year classes that need to complete that application. But that's how you start the process. So we have the financial aid workshop coming up in October. Scholarship night for all the local scholarships is, scholarship information night on how to actually apply is going to be February 12th in the library. Okay, and that's all the local scholarships that we have. We have a scholarship night in May, and there's a lot of money that we give out. I think we gave out close to $250,000 last year. And there's always money left at the table because people don't take the time to apply. Now, I was going to say when your students submit their applications, I can almost guarantee they will be getting emails that say, thank you for applying to our school, your file's incomplete, we're missing, and they'll list what they're missing. It could be the teacher rec, it could be their SAT scores, it could be the counselor rec, it could be their transcript, it could be a variety of different things. Do not panic. Print it out, come in and see us, and we will tell you what the situation is. What makes the application deadline is the application and the application fee. As long as those two things are in by the deadline, the student is safe, they have made it. The colleges are not going to hold the students responsible for what College Board does or doesn't do, or the teacher or the guidance counselor or anybody else. We usually get our stuff out in time anyways, but what happens, sometimes things cross in the mail. If a student submits something tonight, they're going to get an email. We haven't sent anything out yet, okay? And they may not even made a request for us to send anything out yet. So those emails, because sometimes things cross. A lot of times what happens is I can go in and I can see that it's been received by the college, but they haven't opened it yet. But don't panic. You are going to get those, and it's going to freak you out. You'll probably get them over Thanksgiving and Christmas vacation when we're not in school. Don't panic. As long as you know that the application, the fee made it by the deadline, 9 times out of 10, they have it and haven't processed it. If they haven't, then we will, depending on what it is, if it's SATs, the student needs to check on that. If it's the teacher or the guidance counselor, we'll make sure that we're following up and getting that stuff out, okay? But that sends like panic, crazy panic. I got an email on Christmas Eve from a mother years ago. I'm like, you're actually checking your email on Christmas Eve? But we'll take care of it for you, okay? But don't worry. And then at the end of the book is just the glossary of terms. You're going to hear a lot of acronyms. Higher ed loves their acronyms. So there's a lot of, so it's a word or an acronym you hear and you don't know what it means, it's probably in the back of the book. So that is the workbook. I know it's a lot of information. Please, I will take questions. I will stay as long as you guys need me to be here tonight to answer questions. Please contact your guidance counselors if you have questions. Like I said, we're just starting to get the seniors in to start meeting with them. Even after we have those initial meetings with them, they can come in or email us at any time. As long, a lot of times an email, we can answer the question through email and just keep them moving in the process. If you have questions, let us know. A lot of times the students are doing a really good job, but they're not telling their parents. And the parents are freaking out, going they haven't done anything, and they've actually done a lot of stuff already. If you would like to be part of that meeting with the student, we could certainly accommodate that also. But I tell you, we had, I think we had 87 students at the boot camp. Like I said, there's 187 students in the class, so it's almost half of the class went to boot camp. And they're in really good shape. They're in very, very good shape. We are going to, the day of PSATs, which is October 16th, the freshmen, the sophomores, and the juniors are all going to be engaged in PSAT testing from 7:20 to about 10:15 in the morning. What we're going to do with the seniors is all the seniors who went to boot camp are going to go down to the cafeteria, so they need to have charged laptops with them that day and any of their college material, and we are going to have staff down there to answer any questions and have them work on any forms or applications they need to. They're going to have that whole morning on October 16th to be able to get some of this work out of the way. The students, excuse me, the students that did not go to boot camp will be coming here to the auditorium. They'll see this presentation. And then for the remainder of the time, we will work with them on doing some of the stuff that we did during boot camp with the students, getting their applications up and running and answering questions and helping them answer the questions on the applications. Yes, there's a question up here. October 16th. Okay, there'll be announcements. Right there. Yeah. Yes. They're used to use, because the question is, do they have Word on their school computers? They're used to using Google for everything, so it's just kind of a training their mind to save it as a Word document. We do have a few students that have their own devices. So I had a student that did not have Word today, so she went to the library and she worked on it there and she emailed it to me from the library. Okay. Other questions? Yep. So the question is, if they have already used indicated where they wanted their SAT scores to be sent, if they decide on another school later on, can they add that school? Yes. If they're not, if within the 9 days after the test, I think it's 9 days, then it's free. If it's not, they're just going to charge the credit card $12. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the question is about super scoring. So let me explain what super scoring is first. Super scoring is when you take more than one SAT and you take the best score from each section and put them together. So if you scored better on the reading and writing the first test and the math in the second, you take those together and that is the super score. Yes, that's what most colleges do, but you do have to send both sets of scores. Okay? If they've taken 3 SATs, which hopefully we're not there, if they've taken 3 SATs and one of them isn't even close, leave that one out. Okay? There. Yeah. Say that again? The BSU interviews, you on the spot? Yes. Good question. So last year, we have always done on-the-spot admissions with Massasoit. We have them, the students sign up, we have Massasoit come in here. They interview them for 15 minutes, and they tell them right there, congratulations, you've been accepted. Last year, we started that with Bridgewater State, and it was very successful. We did it in the springtime last year. This year, since it was so successful, they've already contacted us, and they've already set a date, so we're doing it this fall. So the sign-up, you will hear the announcements. If not this week, you will hear the announcements next week about when to come down to guidance and sign up. Now, this is the caveat for signing up for Bridgewater's on the spot, because it's a little bit different from the Massasoit. Bridgewater, if you have a 2.3 grade point average or higher, I'm sorry, not 2.3, 2.8 or higher grade point average, then you will just go and sign up for the on-the-spot. If your grade point average is below a 2.8, before you sign up, see your guidance counselor, because we need to check some other stuff too to see if you would be a good candidate for on-the-spot admissions. We only have certain limited amount of space, and if we know that the test scores and the grade point average aren't going to line up right now, we may recommend holding off on the spot. Let's send mid-year grades to see if that would change your positioning. But definitely come and check with us and we can help you through that process. Yes? So if we do on the spot, do we actually have to apply and pay for it? Yes, you have to apply. I'm not sure about the paying for it piece, but you do have to fill out an application ahead of time. Okay, and when you sign up, there'll be instructions of exactly what you need to do. They're just finalizing that stuff. They're working on it today. Okay? Other questions? Is there a reason why the seniors can't see their transcripts online? I don't know. That's never been asked before. I don't know any schools that do that. I don't know if you're aware of any that do. I don't know any schools that do that. We certainly can give them a copy, and the students that went to boot camp, we gave them an official copy of their transcript. So if they want an unofficial copy, we certainly can do that. My guess would be security. Even the teachers can't access students' transcripts. The only people that can see them are the administrators and the guidance counselors. I'm not sure if we have the capability of even opening it up to students, that window to students. But if they want a copy, we certainly can give them one. Another question?
And the other question is, some of the more competitive schools
So the question is, some of the more competitive schools ask for a weighted GPA. The colleges all recalculate GPA themselves. So when we report it, they ask us, is it weighted or unweighted? So we tell them when we're filling out the school report form what it is, so they know. But what happens is we're on a 4.0 unweighted scale here. So some schools, a lot of high schools are on weighted scales. But their scales are different. I worked at a school that had they were on a weighted 5-point scale. The school a student taught at was at a 7.2 scale. Some schools use a scale of 1 to 100 like they grade papers. So 100 is like a 4.0 and so on and so on. So they're getting all these different grade point averages, weighted, unweighted, big scales, small scales, from all over the world, really. So what the colleges do is they recalculate, and they look and they say, okay, what's the class? Was it an honors class? Was it a college prep class? What was the grade? And on our scale here at this particular college, we're going to give it a 3.8. And then they recalculate and average it together. So the colleges are usually pretty fair about trying to give the students credit for the more intensive classes that they're taking. One thing is, if you take honors chorus and honors band, that's going to influence obviously inflate your grade point average at the high school. Unless you're applying to Berklee College of Music, they're not going to give you honors credit. They're probably not going to give you college prep credit. They're probably going to count that as an activity. But they're also going to see that you did it. It's going to weight heavily as an activity because it was at the honors level. But they do try to give you credit where they can. I know UMass Amherst will say, oh, look, they took a semester of sociology and they got an A. They took a semester of psychology and they got a B+. And so we're going to give the person an A-, call it a social science class, and give them an A-. Oh, look, it was honors. We'll give them an extra half a point for that also. So they're fair about it. They try to make sure they give them credit. Well, they have their own formulas. Each college does it, yeah, they will recalculate their own way. Okay. And part of what we send to the colleges is our school profile, which explains how many honors courses we offer, how many AP courses we offer. It gives them the average SAT scores of our students and all that. So it gives them a snap, and we also shows our scale and how we weight things and all that. So the colleges get a sense, like the local schools, they know us. We send a lot of kids there, so they're used to seeing our transcripts, and they know how successful our students can be. Bridgewater, Stonehill, UMass Dartmouth, even the ones in eastern Massachusetts, we send a lot of kids around. So they're familiar with who we are. But when you start moving further away to New York or out west or wherever it might be, they may not be as familiar with us, but they get our school profile, and that gives them a little bit of a snapshot of what our community and our school are like. Yep, yeah, it says right in there it's a 4x4 block schedule. Okay. Yes. Email, yeah. How do the colleges inform the students if they've been accepted or not? And it's all email now. A lot of them do follow up with a letter. In fact, usually you will get a letter eventually because they're going to have to mail you forms to sign and all this other stuff. So you will get a congratulatory letter eventually. You want to frame that, don't you? Yeah. I get it. But initially, it's going to be by email. So once they announce, oh, we're going to be sending our stuff out tomorrow night, everyone's by their computers until midnight trying to find out. Other questions? Do students see the letters of recommendation? In most cases, no, they do not. And the reason for that, they actually have to, when they fill out their application, they need to check off a box. This is part of the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. And there's a box where they're going to ask them, do they wish to waive their right to access their file, their college file, or do they wish to see it? 99.9% of the students waive their right, and we recommend they waive their right. And the reason for that is they are sending a clear message to the college that the evaluations they're getting from teachers and guidance counselors are genuine and honest because their eyes haven't seen them. So the next question that comes up is, well, what if my teacher's going to write a bad letter of recommendation? They won't. The teachers would say, I think you should find somebody else before they would write a letter. Okay. Well, that's the next question. I was just going to say that. So I've been doing this for 21 years, okay? So in 21 years, I've had 2 students who were not my favorites. I don't think that's too bad, though, okay? I do have to write the letter. I don't have a choice. So my job is to get them into college. And hopefully their experience in college will be better than it was in high school. And I don't want them in high school anymore. So I just leave the garbage out. The letter might be a little shorter, but I just stick to the facts, and I try to highlight what they've done. And on occasion, we may get a phone call from the college. It doesn't happen that much anymore because they have the high volume and everything, but we just leave that stuff out. You know, my job is to try to help them get along in their lives, and whatever the experience was here, you know, hopefully they've learned from it and they're going to grow and they're going to become better people as they move along. Any other questions? Okay, well, I'll be up right over here. Does the AP Capstone program have any weighting on decisions? AP Capstone is very, very new. Very new. It sounds wonderful. It may be wonderful. We don't know yet. Okay. But regardless if a student is in the AP Capstone program or they've just taken a lot of AP courses, that's what the college is really interested in. Okay? It's the strength of the schedule, and not just the strength of the schedule, the success of the schedule, too. So if the student took a whole bunch of AP courses and got C's in them, it might be an academic experience for them, but what message are they sending to the colleges? Are they sending to the colleges that they are wisely choosing their courses, or maybe overstepping a little bit? You know, if you're a kind of student that have kind of taken the honors and college prep and honors, and you want to try an AP and you got to see good for you, you challenged yourself, we like to see that. It's a C, but you know, you're choosing your classes wisely. So with any schedule, it's balance. It's just balance. And it's the AP scores too. You know, if you want to get college credit, you need to usually get a 3, 4, or a 5 on that AP exam. You get a 1 or a 2, and you don't want to report a 1 or a 2. So it's a balancing act. It's too soon to say whether or not it's going to carry a lot of weight. Early indications right now from the colleges are let them challenge themselves wherever they can challenge themselves. If it's an AP, that's wonderful. And sometimes AP Capstone won't fit into a schedule, but if they challenge themselves with 6 APs, but if they don't have the seminar and the research, that's what's most important. Okay? If the research and the seminar, which are the 2 required courses, fit in there and the student does well in it, wonderful, it's great. So it's before they start signing, well, you guys, you have seniors, but if you got any younger ones, before they start signing up for stuff like that, just talk with their guidance counselor. They can talk with any of the AP teachers. Mr. Brannigan is very well versed in AP, and he can certainly answer questions also. We just want to make sure that they're appropriately choosing and not making the mistake of thinking they have to take a class way, way up here and they've only been here, and then all of a sudden they stress themselves out all year, maybe affect some of their other classes, and their grades might be what they want them to be, and the purpose of doing this was to make themselves look better than where they're at, and it had the reverse effect. So it's balance, it's balance, and it's different for every student. So I can't just say, for your, say, blanket, yes, do this, okay? It really depends on the individual. No other questions? You had some good questions tonight. I think this is the most talkative group we've had. So I'll be up front. If anybody has any individual questions they'd like to ask, I'll be around, so feel free to stop down here. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. If you could please fill out the evaluation forms. There's boxes right by the door up front. You can just drop them in there. If you need a writing utensil, we have pencils up top that we will gladly bring down here for you. Just raise your hand if you need something to write with. And get in touch with us with any questions you have. We'll be happy to help out. Thank you for coming tonight.